How ancient people made soap. Without factories. Thousands of years ago, there were no soap factories, no supermarkets, no plastic bottles filled with liquid soap, and no machines producing thousands of bars every day. Yet ancient people still discovered ways to clean themselves, their clothes, and other things. But how? The answer begins with something surprisingly simple. Ash. Ancient people used fire every day. They cooked with it. They stayed warm beside it. And after the fire went out, something was left behind. Ash. People eventually discovered that ash could be useful in ways beyond simply being the remains of a fire. They could collect it and mix it with water. But the really interesting discovery happened when this mixture came into contact with animal fats or oils. Something changed. The combination could produce a substance capable of helping remove dirt and grease. Today, we understand that this involves a chemical process called saponification. But ancient people didn't know about chemistry. They didn't need to. They simply observed what happened. Imagine an ancient settlement. Someone has prepared food and is left with animal fat. Nearby, another person has collected ash from the cooking fire. They experiment. They mix different materials. Some mixtures don't work. Others produce something strange. Eventually, people discover that certain fats combined with alkaline materials made from ash could create a useful cleaning substance. And once people discovered something useful, they could repeat it. Then they could teach it to others. And the knowledge could survive for generations. One of the earliest places where we have evidence of soap-like substances is ancient Mesopotamia. People living in this region developed advanced knowledge of working with oils, fats, and alkaline materials. Ancient clay tablets provide evidence connected with soap making. Think about how remarkable that is. Thousands of years ago, people were already experimenting with materials to create cleaning substances. They didn't have modern factories. They didn't have laboratories. They didn't have precise measuring machines. Instead, they worked with whatever nature provided: ash, water, animal fats, plant oils, and simple containers. Their knowledge came from observation. If a certain mixture worked, they remembered it. If another mixture failed, they changed it. Over time, these experiments became practical knowledge, and practical knowledge became tradition. But ancient soap wasn't necessarily like the soap sitting in our bathrooms today. It could be rough. It could look very different. And it wasn't always made for exactly the same purpose. Some soap-like substances were useful for cleaning textiles. Others could be used for washing. Different communities developed different recipes depending on the materials available around them. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Because the knowledge didn't stay in one place. It traveled. Traders moved between settlements. People exchanged goods. They exchanged techniques. And they carried useful knowledge with them. The simple discovery made from ash, water, and fats could slowly become a technology used across different ancient societies. But how exactly did ancient people improve this simple discovery? And how did soap making eventually become a specialized craft? That's where the story gets even more interesting. Ancient soap was not necessarily like the soap we use today. It could be rough, strong, and sometimes unpleasant to smell. But it was useful. Different civilizations developed different methods depending on the materials available around them. Some communities had access to animal fats. Others had plant oils. Some had different types of ash and alkaline materials. So there wasn't just one ancient recipe for soap. There were many variations. And each community learned through experience. Imagine an ancient craftsperson preparing a mixture. First, they collect ash from a fire. Then, they process it with water. Nearby, they prepare animal fat or plant oil. They combine the ingredients carefully. There are no machines, no laboratory equipment, no printed instructions. Instead, the craftsperson relies on knowledge learned from someone before them. If the mixture works well, they remember the method. If it doesn't work, they change something. Perhaps they use different ash. Perhaps they change the amount of fat. Perhaps they try another type of oil. Slowly, through repeated experiments, the process improves. And that knowledge can be passed from one generation to another. This was one of the most important ways ancient technology developed. People didn't always understand why something worked. They understood that it worked. A farmer didn't need to understand modern biology to know which seeds produced good crops. A builder didn't need modern physics to know how to construct a strong structure. And a soap maker didn't need to understand chemistry to know that certain fats and alkaline materials could create a useful cleaning substance. Experience was their laboratory, observation was their teacher, and generations were their instruction manual. As civilizations grew, soap making and other cleaning practices became more specialized. Traders carried oils, fats, plants, and other ingredients between regions. Craftspeople developed their own techniques. Some places became known for particular products, and knowledge continued spreading. The same basic idea could appear in different places with different ingredients. One community might use animal fat, another might use plant oil, another might use locally available alkaline materials. The ingredients changed. The basic principle remained. But perhaps the most amazing part is how ordinary the beginning was. There was no giant invention ceremony, no scientist standing in a laboratory, no machine announcing that a new technology had been created. It may have started with people simply noticing what happened when different materials were combined. Someone experimented. Someone else improved the process. Another person remembered it. A child learned it. That child eventually taught someone else. And the knowledge continued. Thousands of years later, we still use the basic idea of turning fats or oils and alkaline materials into soap. The technology changed. The ingredients changed. The production became faster. But the ancient principle survived. So the next time you see a simple bar of soap, remember how strange its history really is. Before factories, before supermarkets, before modern chemistry, ancient people were already experimenting with ways to make the world around them cleaner. They had no modern machines. They had no laboratories. They had only the materials around them. And the knowledge passed down by generations. Ash, water, fat, or oil. And an ancient discovery that would survive for thousands of years.